What's up, everybody? This is Showtime's Fight Forum. I'm your boy, Josh Showtime. This is where we talk all things fights, combat, all that good stuff. Make sure you like, subscribe, and comment. You already know, make sure we're sharing. Thank you guys for watching my last video. I mean, we're getting my views up, man. I really do genuinely appreciate it. Just ask that you share it. If you have any other fight fans, make sure you share it to them. And you know, I'm normally decent on picks. That kind of goes into my point this week, which is going to be my recap for UFC 280. I'm not gonna lie to y'all, that was by far the worst I've ever predicted, ever. I've never been that bad. I believe I was, what, 1 for like 5? I'm disappointed, I'm ashamed of myself. Like, no joke, after that I was like, man, I really gotta make sure like I'm like doing as much research as possible, because that just, I felt embarrassed. Like I enjoyed the fights, but I was just so far off on a lot of these predictions. Some of them I felt like I got screwed on, but the other predictions, it was just bad. It was just bad. And I do my research. Like, guys, I watch fights. I watch these guys' prior fights. I watch their first. I watch as much as I can on these guys coming up. So I want to make sure I'm as educated as possible, even if I don't sound educated, especially when I say their names. So overall, I called it card of the year before the fight card even started. And let me just tell you, it wasn't. There was better cards so far this year. Wasn't a bad card, but I would say if I had to rate it from a scale to 1 to 10, it was probably a 7.5. Like, there was good fights. It was some fun fights. It wasn't nothing spectacular, nothing was great. It wasn't what it really was supposed to build up to. And in reality, a lot of it was because there wasn't that many competitive fights, especially in the main card. Like, the first fight was boring. I will get into that on the main card. It wasn't that great. Second fight, I enjoyed a lot. The third fight, it was probably the best fight of the night. And then you have the championship fight. Neither one was competitive. And you know, well, once again, I'll dive into each one, but you know, it could have been better. So, and also, I hated the start time. I don't like 2 o'clock during college football. Listen, if you're gonna do these 2 o'clock cards, UFC, and I can't wait to see the numbers on this. If you're going to do these 2 o'clock cards, I don't care how star-studded it is. Don't have it during football season. Do not compete versus college football, because you're gonna have people just go to the bars and people aren't gonna watch it all. I know these numbers had to be bad. There's no way, if they were good, I'm impressed. Like, the UFC is really like the king of all kings, but I highly doubt it. People want to see football. So yeah, I wasn't happy. Do that in June and July. Don't do it in freaking October. But yet and still, let's just get into the fights. So the first fight, which is the fight I was probably the worst on, which was Belal Muhammad versus Sean Brady. This is what irks me personally. My gut genuinely was telling me that Belal easily can win this fight, because I saw how Sean Brady fought versus Mike Chiesa. The guy was being touted for having a really good striking and really good ground game. He was getting pieced up by Mike Chiesa. That's not good. He's not a striker. That guy's a wrestler. If he's out striking you, your striking needs some help. Simple and plain. And yeah, so I was very, very like stupid by just believing in the hype, believing that he's undefeated, this, that, and the third, knowing what I already knew, which was he had a lot of flaws. But I did call out Belal's good everywhere, which means one thing. He can exploit whatever you're bad at. Most people have really good holes. I mean, some people have really big holes. Most people, like, some people are really good strikers, their ground game sucks. He can exploit that. Some people have really good ground game. He has good enough takedown offense to be able to strike you. Sean Brady, he's also pretty decent everywhere. However, his bread and butter is honestly getting the fight to the ground. We've seen what happens in the standard department, and he got pieced up, got caught with a nice right, and that was all she wrote. And Belal got his first finish in I don't know how long. I have to put more respect on Belal's name. Belal is a top 5 fighter, and he needs a big fight next. I mean, if people want to talk about Chimaev, I don't want to see Chimaev. I want to see Chimaev versus Colby. That's to be the fight next. They just announced that Gilbert Burns is fighting Jorge, but that could have been a fight for Belal. To have Belal versus Gilbert Burns, that could have been a really good fight and a fun fight, honestly, because we know Belal's not going to take the shot. So it would have been a stand-up fight. It would have been a really good fight for these guys. But those guys are gone. So, I mean, I really don't know, like, outside of possibly Chimaev, but I heard that they wanted to get Colby, maybe Rahman Chimaev, or if he fights, whoever's the winner between Rahman and Neal, whoever's the winner, maybe fight the winner of that, just to stay busy. But he's very close to a title shot. I think he's honestly a win or 2 away. So we got to put respect on, remember the name, the stupidest nickname ever, Muhammad. Like I said, I love his personality. I'm not a fan of his fights per se, but this fight was a really good fight, and he got the finish, shut a lot of people up, including me. Good job. Now, the next fight is a fight that I'm not going to dive too much on because it was an awful fight, which was Caitlin Chikagian versus Fiora. It wasn't a good fight. Who cares who won? We lost. But I respect the fact that Moran sat there and said that she still knows that she's not ready for Valentina, and she says that she wants another fight before that. Because the reality is she's not ready for that. So we do need to see her again. Hopefully, you know, a more fun of a fight. I mean, who knows? Maybe fight the winner of, I think Jessica Andrade's got a fight. Maybe fight the winner of whoever wins that fight. But I need to see a little bit more to even think it's going to be remotely competitive versus Valentina, because that wasn't it at all. Now, the fight that was the second best fight, in my opinion, of the night, and that's just because I'm a wrestler and I just love the ground game and the groundwork, was Gamrot versus Beneil Dariush. Once again, I was wrong off that. And that fight was fun. Especially the first couple of minutes of the first round. These guys were rolling. That's what it looks like when people are just rolling around in scrambles during practice, and they did that during a real match. I loved it, every second of it. You know, for people who aren't the biggest fan of grapplers, if you didn't like that, then legit you should just watch kickboxing. That was fun, very technical, very skilled to be able to get out of those positions and to be able to reverse each other so many times. But Beneil Dariush, I mean, there's what more is to say. He and Charles Oliveira are on very similar paths, which were they both, you know, they both were at one point mid-tier, like at lightweight, mind you. So mid-tier lightweight is not a bad thing. Mid-tier means you're very good, but you're just not championship caliber. And now they have worked their way into finding a style that suits them best and that gets them close to a title. Beneil Dariush is the next man in line at 155, period. He's the next man at that weight. I know they're gonna do Volkanovski, but right now, 155, there is nobody else more deserving than Beneil. Beneil he looked great, great hook that freaking dropped Gamrot. I mean, there's not much more you can ask. However, he's not gonna get the next title fight. Now, I don't know if he's gonna wait. I don't think he should, but if he does, Dana White doesn't really like that unless you're like Conor McGregor and you're a star, you can do that. Unfortunately, Beneil, you're not a star, you can't do that. So he's gonna want you to fight again. Now, I already seen it on the web, and I would love to see this, and it should be Charles Oliveira. Like, y'all, that fight of the night, that needs to be 5 rounds. It's not gonna last 5 rounds, it doesn't matter, but it should. And let's see these dudes go. Let's see them fight. I want some squabble. All right, great rebound fight for both of these. Well, not rebound for Beneil, but great rebound fight for Charles, and a good fight with a former champ that can really show everybody he deserves to be next in line. Hope that's the fight that we made, and I love that fight. Now, I'm gonna go over once again because I'm talking about a lot of fights, so I'm sorry. Now, the next fight, which is the most controversial fight, but also was the best fight of the night, and that was Sean O'Malley versus Peter Yan. I'm with everybody else. I thought that Peter won. I thought that it was 2-1 max. I mean, I thought that was like the lowest you could go at that point. I couldn't even understand 30-27. But here's the thing. Is it a robbery? I think so, just for the simple fact that I thought there was a clear-cut winner, which was Yan. However, I don't think it was like the worst decision ever because the first and third round were close. Very close. And I can somewhat understand how you can give him one of those rounds. Well, I guess both of those rounds. Second round was clear, Yan. And I mean, let's also first put in perspective that Sean O'Malley proved that he's an elite fighter. He belongs here. I mean, even if you want to say he lost this fight, he's only lost to him and Cheeto. And Cheeto's obviously next in line for a title shot. If he's not next, he really needs to be very, 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 very close. So he's only lost to elite fighters. He was so competitive, and that was the hardest fight I've ever seen Yan in the UFC. Nobody has pushed him like that. Nobody's hurt him like that. And he's lost the fight before with Aljo, which is ridiculous to say, but this was his toughest fight. And for Sean O'Malley to be able to do that, it's impressive. It should have been a 5-rounder. I wish it was a 5-rounder. I feel like when you have these title contenders, if you're gonna have a title eliminator, they automatically need to be 5 rounders. I feel like automatically, it does not matter. If this is a title eliminator, why is it not 5 rounds? But Yan, he struggled with the height. He struggled with the length. Sean was very smart. He was able to jab him up. He was able to kick when he needed to. Even when he got taken down, was able to work back up. Beautiful knees, and he noticed that when Yan likes to bend, when he likes to bend over, which he likes to do a lot, likes to curl up, started throwing those knees. The difference is Sean can throw those knees from just standing up, just because he don't have to jump into it like Aljo has to, because Aljo's tall, but he's not that tall. Like we already know, Sean is a very, very, very lanky, tall fighter, so he was able to just push knee just right to your face, and it hurts. It obviously rocked him and cut him up and all this other stuff. Great fight. I don't agree with the decision. I would love for them to rematch, just because it seems like that division is kind of, I ain't gonna say in flux. There's a couple contenders. You have Sean O'Malley now because he won. You still got Cheeto because he also won a devastating knockout. So you got guys there. We'll see what they do with it. I'm okay if they do a rematch because it was that close, but I kind of feel like they wouldn't, just because Sean is a superstar. He got to win over Jan. That's all you need. And if I'm the president, I don't want to see them fight again. Why would I want to see that? He won, cool. Y'all said that, fine. Let's go ahead and let's get this man a title shot, because he has superstar potential. Casuals know him. People saw that card because Sean O'Malley was on that card. And I know this personally because I have plenty of friends who don't care about MMA, but they saw the card because Sean O'Malley was on the card. So, and I know y'all did too. So yeah, superstar, he has to get a title shot next, in my opinion. Next is Aljo. Aljo versus TJ Dillashaw. Just like everybody else, disappointed. I feel like, I guess I was wrong in my prediction, but however, I was wrong because I was withheld information. I didn't know he was hurt. Nobody knew he was hurt. Do I believe he was hurt? Absolutely, I believe he was hurt. Do I believe that that genuinely played a difference? Yes, it played a difference, but at the same time, he lost. Like, I can't sit here and discredit Aljo at all, because Aljo beat the hell out of him for 3 rounds. Was it 3 rounds? Whatever, no, 2 rounds, I'm sorry, for 2 rounds. There's nothing, I mean, what more could we see? They said, talked about wrestling, he got out wrestled in the beginning. Oh, he threw his shoulder out in the beginning. I'm sorry, that's not my problem, that's not his fault. Aljo's the champ, Aljo dominated, and we have to move on. There's nothing else to talk about. UFC can talk, y'all can talk about that medical stuff. Not as interested in that because that's their issue, that's their problem. He held up the division, yes he did. TJ, you was gonna lose no matter what. Aljo is too tough of an opponent to be coming in there with one shoulder thinking you're gonna win. Don't disrespect the sport like that, especially Aljo. But congrats to the champ. Obviously what's next is probably Sean O'Malley. He should want that fight. That's a big fight for him, that's a big payday for him, and that's a fight that he very well should win. He should. Stand up, yeah, it's gonna be a problem, but he can easily take down Sean O'Malley. And if he takes him down, we already seen what that ground game does. He's a nightmare on that ground. I don't know whatever they do in Ray Longo's camps, but their ground is just ridiculous. It's top notch, and he will abuse the hell out of Sean. So, you know, that should be the fight. That's the fight I know he's gonna call out, and that's the fight he should get. I know he said Cheeto earlier, but I know he really wants that Sean O'Malley fight, because that's an easy payday for him and his style. But yeah, still you can't sleep on him too much, because Sean O'Malley is dangerous, but that's a tailor-made fight for him. Now, fight that I genuinely don't want to talk about because it hurts my heart, but I have to talk about. And that is the former champ that had a name, Oliveira, went against Islam Makhachev. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I was wrong. I was very wrong. Very, very wrong. Islam is real. I already knew he was a real fighter. I've said that several times. He is great. His resume wasn't great, but at the end of the day, he did what you had to do with that kind of resume, which is dominate. I thought that Charles would have came out looking a little bit more crisp and a little better on the stand-up. I don't know if it was the adrenaline, if it was the hype, if it was the confidence he had in himself, but I will say that he looked very sloppy on the feet. And it's not because of the jumping quick kick that he does. He does that every fight. That's not a big deal to me. Yes, he got caught with that, and that went to the obviously that ended the fight. My issue was more so of everything else outside of the striking. The knees were good, but it was just the straight punches, the hooks, like nothing looked like sharp. And he's normally a very sharp striker. And he got picked apart on the feet by Islam. Islam looked quicker, I will say that. But when it comes to the he also looked a little bit more technical than Charles, and Charles is a very technical striker. I don't know what it was that changed up in his game plan, but he didn't look good. On the ground, I mean, that's when you fight a very strong wrestler, it's hard to get off on your ground game. And what the research has shown is Charles doesn't really offer that many submissions off his back. He doesn't really sub that many people off his back. He'll get you in danger just so he can sweep you, take your back, then choke you out or get you in a weird submission. But just off his back, it doesn't really happen too often. So knowing that, Islam had an advantage, and he took advantage of it. And not much really happened in the first round when he did, when he did have top control. He just controlled him, landed some decent shots, called it a day. Second one, Second round, that was the round where Charles had to reestablish himself and make sure that he didn't really get the fight to the ground because it wasn't going his way. And he was able to stuff the takedowns. Now you have the fight where you want it. And then he got caught. And then he did what he normally does. He falls. That wasn't gonna work on Islam. Islam's top game is too good. You was rocked, he caught you slipping, submitted you. I mean, Islam is the champ, man. Islam is a beast. I gotta hold my hat to all these Dagestani guys. These wrestlers are top notch. And we know what's next for Islam. Islam's gonna fight Volkanovski, and I can't wait to see that fight because I wanna see if Volkanovski can stop those takedowns. He's short, but he's strong. You gotta remember this guy was 200 pounds. On the feet, Alexander should honestly piece him up pretty good, pretty easily. But mixing in that ground game is going to be very tricky, and I'm interested to see how that's going to go. And I already said what I'll expect for Charles. I want Charles to fight Beneil Dariush. If he doesn't fight Beneil Dariush, maybe fight Vizquel or someone. Like, there's a lot of top dogs, and he needs to fight some of these young dogs that's coming up, and once again establish himself as a top tier fighter so he can get a rematch possibly. Because I would love to see it again. I want to see if it plays out the exact same, but I do think Charles needed like 2 more fights in order to get there. However, once again, it was a good night of fights. Wasn't what we expected fully, but I still enjoyed it. Hope you guys did too. Hope you enjoyed this show. As always, man, make sure you like, subscribe, comment, and all that good stuff. Man, thank you for watching. As always, man, stay blessed.